Welcome to the Download. I'm Reid Mercer, flying solo this week, and there's a lot on the docket. Prince William showed up on New Heights hours before Travis Kelce married Taylor Swift. Everyone's calling it a nice gesture. I'm calling it a booking money can't replicate. Then there's the ad money. Shopify's holding the top spot on podcast spend charts for a third month straight, and Mel Robbins is out talking AI at Cannes. I think she's burying the real headline. Edison Research just dropped listener numbers on Black and Latino audiences that I'd bet most media buyers haven't opened yet. And Kara Swisher's turning her podcast reach into a 2028 campaign play. Smart positioning or overreach? We'll get into it. Follow the money. That's the plan for the next half hour. Royal cameos, ad concentration risk, an audience segment the rate cards haven't caught up to, and where the platform power actually shifts next. First up, Prince William, New Heights, and why that booking is worth more than the wedding headlines.
We want to hear from you. Submit questions via the web form in the description or give us a call at 747-234-2678 and leave your question. Don't be shy. Our AI assistant makes it super easy.
With a dry chuckle, Jason Kelce spent 30 seconds just reading Prince William's titles before he ever said Prince William. 6'3" Prince from London, England, Duke of Cornwall, the whole rundown. That's the kind of intro you don't buy, you earn. Nadia Santiago at Thought Catalog reported William had been fishing for a wedding invite since May, telling a UK radio show he was hoping for one. He didn't get the wedding, he got something better. Variety's Jack Dunn had the detail that sells this. The episode dropped the same day Kelce and Swift are reportedly marrying at Madison Square Garden. Same day. Not the week before, not the week after. Think about the reach math for a second. Kensington Palace could buy every daytime slot on every network in Britain and America combined, and it wouldn't touch the search volume New Heights gets by writing the single biggest entertainment story on the planet. People.com and Vogue's Anna Cafola both flagged the same thing. This wasn't a booking that happened to land near the wedding. The timing is the product. That's earned media arbitrage. You attach a royal, a genuinely rare guest, to a news cycle already burning at max intensity, and the appearance becomes worth more than anything a PR budget could purchase outright. And this is the piece executives keep missing. The celebrity booking chase isn't color anymore. It's a real competitive moat. New Heights didn't win because Travis Kelce is charming, although chuckling he clearly is. They won because their booking pipeline can produce a sitting future king on 48 hours notice. So here's your Monday morning question. What does your show's guest pipeline look like next to that? If the answer is, we're chasing whoever our publicist can get, you're not competing in the same category anymore. Which raises the actual dollar question. Who's paying for all that attention and how much?
Speaking of who's footing the bill, let's talk Shopify. Podscribe's June numbers, cited by both Inside Radio and Podcast News Daily, have Shopify holding the #1 podcast advertiser spot for a third month straight. They bumped spend 17% to $5.7 million, running ads across 2,211 shows. That's a wide net. But ask yourself why one e-commerce platform dominates podcast advertising this hard. Shopify's not selling a product to listeners. They're selling merchants on opening a store. Podcasts became a direct response funnel for them. So, here's my stress test. What happens to rate cards across the mid-tier network world if Shopify trims spend even 10% next quarter? A lot of shows built pricing around one advertiser category propping up demand. That's concentration risk, and radio lived through the exact version of this with auto dealers 20 years ago. Now, the part that got buried under an AI headline this week. Mel Robbins sat down with Crystal Scanlon at Digiday, coming off her first ever Cannes Lions trip. Everyone's writing about her AI ad buying comments. Listen to what she said about owning her audience data. Robbins runs her show independently. She's not renting distribution from a network that owns the relationship with her listeners. She owns it. That's pricing power a network talent roster doesn't have, because the network negotiates with the brand, not the host. Flip that around and ask what AI actually changes here. It's not just automating who buys inventory, it's starting to shape who gets targeted and on what terms. If systems are making buying decisions off first-party listener data, whoever owns that data controls the brand relationship. One more category worth flagging before Monday's sales call: logistics and supply chain brands. Jim Frazier's piece in Logistics Viewpoints this week made the case that sponsored podcasts are becoming the format supply chain executives use to build trust, because listeners get nuance a press release can't deliver. Why would a freight company buy podcast ads over a trade publication insert? Executive buyers move on relationships. Hearing leadership talk through a supply chain problem builds credibility faster than any white paper ever could. That's a new buyer walking into the category, and it's not chasing consumer reach. Shopify's concentration risk on one side, independent talent leverage on the other. New industries discovering podcast ads as a trust tool in the middle. Same question underneath all three. Who's capturing the value? The platform, the network, or the person holding the mic? And that money question is about to get more interesting because the audience numbers behind who's actually listening are shifting in ways most rate cards haven't caught up to yet.
Shifting from ad dollars to who's actually watching them get spent. Edison Research's Black Podcast Listener Report puts monthly Black listenership at 43% of the 18-plus population, higher than the general market's 38%. Read that again. The audience most rate cards treat as a niche buy is outperforming the baseline. Same story on the Latino side. SSRS and Edison's fifth-year Latino Podcast Listener Report, backed by LWC Studios, Libsyn, and SiriusXM, shows 5 straight years of compounded growth. Is that a moment, or is that a foundation nobody's built a rate card around yet? So here's my question for every media buyer on a Monday call. If your rate card was built off 2019 listener assumptions, what exactly are you pricing? Pod News flagged a study across 5 markets this week, warning buyers not to assume who's listening. Not just young, not just male. Seniors aren't the edge case anymore either. Bad assumptions produce bad rate cards. That's not a diversity story. That's a pricing error sitting on the table right now. Who moves on it first? You want proof the market's already noticing? Essence Fest just added its first creator and podcast stage, a full production build, 3 studios, an education hub, creators recording live all weekend, as WWL Louisiana reported this week. Advertisers aren't waiting for a network to package that audience into a deck. They're showing up at the festival directly. Smaller signal, same pattern. Australia's SAFC just opened its Heard, Seen First Nations podcasting initiative, training up to 8 storytellers on production before a single ad dollar shows up. Build the pipeline now or bid against everyone else for the finished creator later. Your call. Because the data's public, somebody's pricing this correctly in the next 2 quarters. Question is whether it's you or your competitor. And once you've found the audience, you still have to find where they're actually watching, which increasingly isn't inside a podcast app.
One more thread before we close today. Riverside just moved into newsletters. TechCrunch reported this week that Riverside built an AI tool letting creators turn their recordings straight into newsletters, sent right from the app. They're not trying to beat Substack or Beehive head-to-head. They're chasing something bigger, owning the whole workflow, mic to inbox. Trace the incentive. Every tool in this space is racing to own the full stack now, the recorder, the show, and the inbox. And there's an uncomfortable part for anyone still building distribution around RSS alone. Forbes published research this week on where listeners actually find new shows, and podcast apps aren't winning that fight. YouTube and social clips are doing the discovery work now. Their example is a show called Artifacts from Danny Brown, found almost entirely through social, clip by clip. If your growth plan starts and ends with App Store charts, you're optimizing for a channel that's already second place. And then there's Kara Swisher. The LA Times profiled her this week. 4 podcasts most weeks, a CNN documentary, a national tour, And now she's positioning ahead of the 2028 cycle. That's a host converting an audience into political capital directly, no network gatekeeper required. Watch how many others try that playbook once they see it land. Quick hits before we go. Podscribe just added social tracking across Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Proof ad campaigns are multi-channel now, whether networks admit it or not. Spotify's sunsetting username logins soon. Podimo's making moves too. Small items, but they add up on a P&L. So, here's your Monday task. Pull your show's traffic sources this week. If YouTube and social aren't already ahead of your podcast app referrals, they will be by next quarter. Budget for it now.
So, that's the show. If you take one thing from today, take this. The William booking wasn't luck. Same day as the wedding. That's earned media arbitrage, and it's a moat money doesn't buy alone. Ask your team Monday what your own guest pipeline looks like next to that. Then go look at your rate card. If one advertiser category is carrying the demand, you've got concentration risk full stop. Worth a real look. All right, forward this to a colleague who needs to hear it. Tips, feedback, gossip, send it to the download at heymato.com. Thanks for spending this time with me. Same slot next episode, more deals to stress test. Talk soon.